Hello everyone. My today video recording is related to the 802.1 export-based authentication using Cisco ISE and the Dlink DGS 3130 series switch. DGS 3130 is a layer 3 light L3 switch with stackable option. Uh, and let me show you, let's proceed with the configuration part of Cisco ISE. Let me show you some verification on the Cisco ISE and then on the switch side. So let's proceed with the configuration. Here is my Cisco ISE VM installed here. So yes, so as you can see here, show version, and as you can see here, my host name. Let me take a snapshot here, so I will explain you this one. As you can see here, this is my host name, Cisco ISE, and I'm using version 2.4. Okay, so this is the host name, which is really important for the configuration part. Okay, so the login page for this Cisco ISE is I'm using this web browser Firefox, and this is my login page. The IP address of the Cisco ISE is, according to my PPT, is 10.90.90.50. So let me show you what I have done, or what you have to do if you are doing initial configuration. So under the policy and in the dictionary part, as the Dlink is not a listed partner with the Cisco ISE, not partner as a vendor. So what you have to do, you have to upload the Dlink dictionary. You can find it on the Google. You can search for it in the Google, and as you can see, I have already uploaded the Dlink vendor dictionary. Okay, so you have to upload the dictionary to the radius vendors list. Okay, so how you can do that, you can just come to this dictionary part under the system, and you will find this radius, and you will find the radius vendors. Okay, so you can upload directly, import the dictionary to the Cisco ISE. Okay, then the next part is you have to register the device. You have to create the network device profile first. So I'm going to create my device profile. I will delete this, it's a pre-created. I will just delete the selected ones, and I will create new one for you. Delete device profile. It's not deleting, maybe it is. Okay, let me show you the existing one. As you can see, it's a Dlink device profile. What I have done, I just created the profile, and I use the radius option, and here I have called my Dlink dictionary. Now next, what you have to choose here, you don't have to play with other parameters except this map via pap chap and check password and all. Only this option is enabled. Under the permission section, if you are doing 802.1x authentication, you have to enable this checkbox, and then you have to choose this 802.1x attribute. The rest of the thing is default. I didn't touch anything. Okay, okay, and then you have to just save it. You can give any name to this profile. Okay, then next, in my ISE, I have created some groups, like this is D-Link switches, and location wise and device type wise. Oh, you can just add from here. Okay, what do you want to add, types and location, anything you want to add, you can just add it here, but I already have, so I'm going to use the existing ones. Now the third part is to register the device. So as you can see, there is already a registered device. I will delete this device, and I will create a new device here. So according to my topology, I am going to register a switch with the Vlan one as a IP of 10.90.90 and 31. So I will just copy from here. Okay, with slash 8. So I will just make it as DGS hyphen 3130, and the IP, I'm going to use the 31 IP with slash 32. Device profile. Here is a device profile which is D-Link profile that I have showed you in my previous step. So I'm going to use the D-Link profile. Location, testing lab and IPsec device, no. And device type, I'm just going to use a D-Link switch. Now the third is I'm going to use the shared key for the radius authentication. So I'm just going to use a normal key like D-Link 123. That's it for the now. Okay, I am not going to use anything else. Okay, I'm just going to submit it. Once you submit this, as you can see, the device is successfully added, the network device. Now we have to create some users, internal users of under the Cisco ISE. So you can use domain user as well, but I'm going to use the internal user. So I will just make it as user 31. Okay, so login password, I will just make it some login password. First name, I will just make it user and 31. Okay, device group, will just make it as all account default and submit. That's it. So as you can see, the user 31 is added in the internal identity store of Cisco ISE. Okay, now what else we have to do? We don't have to touch anything. We will go to this result part. Under the result part, I will show you this. Under the policy, you have to choose result. I will show you the default allowed protocols. As you can see, chat, app, and everything is allowed. If you need some extra parameters, as you can see, it's unchecked, so you can enable it according to your requirements. So I'm not going to touch anything. The default protocol is already allowed. Now we will create some authorization profile. So we don't have any authorization profile here. We will just create one authorization profile. We'll just make it as Dlink AUT at Zen with the Vlan tag, dynamic Vlan assignment. So I'm doing dynamic Vlan assignment exercise, so I will just make it as Vlan 31. Okay, so network device profile, I'm going to use D-Link profile here, and under this option, that's it. I have just given the name to the profile. I have choose the device profile, and I am going to set the tag for the VLAN tag. So I will just make it as 31, and I will just make it as 31. Okay, and then I will just click on submit. Okay, so what actually will happen when the authorization is successful, the authentication authorization, the user will receive a VLAN 31. So 802.1x port based authentication using dynamic VLAN assignment. This is the exact exercise I'm going to do it. Okay, that's it in the authorization profile part. Now let's create a policy set. So how we can create a policy set? You have to come to policy, and under the policy set you have to just click on this, and you can just create a new policy with the name of anything, DGS 3130. And as you can see, the default allowed protocol, and I'm just going to use something called uh, anything. I will just use it as network device, network device type. I'll just make it as a network device type. Just make it as D-Link switch. I will just use the normal parameter here. I will just click save. I will show you what next we have to do. So if the policy name is 3130 and the device is under the D-Link switches, what else we have to do? We have to create this authentication policy. So as you can see, the default policy is all ID store. So if you want to use the default policy, or else you want to create your own, so you have to put this as deny access, and you have to create authentication rule. So authentication rule, internal user, if auth fail, continue, and user not found, reject and drop. So what we are doing, this void 802.1x. So I'm just going to use the existing policy, which is void 802.1x. Okay, and then we have to create the authorization profile. As you can see, the default is deny access, so we will create our own authorization profile. So if we will define him as internal user, so internal user username is equal to user 31. Okay, if internal user is user 31, and network device, we will add network device, and device NAS IP address. We will use NAS IP address, radius NAS IP address, and NAS IP address mean the switch IP address. So 10.90.90.31 in my case, as I show you in PPT here. This then authentication success. So we will use some authentication parameter here. Let me show you where I can find this parameter here. And network access, not here. Let me check here. Yes, network access under this unclassified option. Authentication status is equal to pass. So I'm just going to use this three parameter in my authorization policy. If internal user mean I'm using this internal identity store of Cisco ISE. So if my internal username that we created in previous step is user 31 and the NAS IP address is 10.90.90.31, then give him a authentication status pass. I'm going to click on use, and which profile you want me to assign. That this is the profile that we created with the VLAN tag of 31, and list. Mm, no, I'm not going to use list. Okay, this is enough for me. I'll just click on save. So let me show you my policy from the start. This is my policy name, and if device type equals to Dlink switch, next, and authentication policy is equal to what, 802.1x, and user is from internal. If the authentication fail, continue, and user is not found, then reject. This is my authentication policy. And if the authentication is successful, it will move to authorization, and it will check for the user 31, the NAS IP, and the status, and it will assign the VLAN 31 profile here. Okay, this is the policy that I have created for my 802.1x based authentication. Now let's apply the configuration on the switch. So I have this console cable connected to my D-Link 3130 switch show version. As you can see, I'm using DGS 3130 switch here, and the firmware is 1.14. Okay, hardware is A1. So let's apply our basic configuration on the switch. So let me show you show VLAN, and there is no VLAN, and show IP interface brief. So as you can see, there is a default VLAN which is 1090. So in my PPT I just change it to 31, so I will just make it as 31. Config T interface VLAN 1 IP address 10.90.90.31.255.0.0. No shut exit show IP interface brief. As you can see, the IP has been changed. Okay, now show VLAN. As you can see, there is no VLAN, so we will just create one VLAN here. VLAN 31, no shut exit. Okay, show VLAN. As you can see, the VLAN 31 is created. Now let's set the local user. So username, root privilege is 15, password. This is the password. Enable password. Enable password is level 15 DEFULT1A. This is my enable password. Now let's set console password. So line console password. This is the step to assign a password on console port, and then we will enable the method login line telnet and I'm going to assign password to the telnet mode as well. That's it. Login is enabled. Okay, now what else we have to do? Now we will proceed with the configuration of the radius on the switch. So what we have to do, we have to enable AAA new model, radius server host. The host IP address is 10.90.90.50, and key is which we assigned in the device profile is Dlink 123. Okay, now AAA group, server, radius server. What is the name that I showed you earlier? It is host name is Cisco ISE. So Cisco ISE. That's it. Now the server IP is 10.90.90.50. In my case, IP radius, source interface, VLAN 1, exit. This is the radius configuration. Now we will enable the method. So .1x system auth control. It will globally enable the .1x authentication on the switch. AAA authentication .1x default group, the group that we created, which is Cisco ISE, and then local. So if the authentication for .1x method is Cisco ISE, if it's failed, then it will fall back to the local one. Okay, so AAA authentication login, default group, radius, and then local. Okay, now I have one PC which is connected to port 3 of the switch, so Ethernet 1/0/3, authentication, host mode, multi-host. Okay, and .1x Pi authenticator. No shut. Okay, so this is the configuration at the moment. Now let me show you my Ethernet card, which is connected here, this one. Okay, as you can see, the IP is 200 and the gateway is 31. I already set it. Now if I show you something, show authentication, there is no authentication. We will go for the authentication part. Properties, authentication, additional settings, user, I will just make it as user authentication. Credentials, I will just make it user 31 DEFAULT1A. This is my user password. Okay, okay, and we will just verify here. Okay, this is the show authentication session. It's trying to authenticate. Yeah, as you can see, can't verify the server identity connect. It is having some problem. So let's verify here first. Our user authentication, user 31 DEFAULT1A. Okay, this showing failed. No problem. Let's troubleshoot via the logs. Radius logs. Do we have any logs here? Okay. So what is saying here in the logs? We will check the logs first here. Click for authentication. It's using default policy, authorization policy 3130. Then in the details, uh, it is showing authentication failed, username. So I think something is wrong with my username. Maybe I used the wrong username. User 31. Let me change the password for this user. uh, User 31, user 31, all accounts. This is correct, but let me change. Anyways, I will discuss with you that. Okay, and also let me verify my policy again, not policy set. So as you can see, I will just make it as all ID store. We'll just make it as contractors. That's okay. Saved. Okay, I haven't done any changes except this one, all ID stores. Let's see what will happen now. Show authentication session. It's in a reject state. Let's disable and enable, and we will replace our credentials. Connect. It's again failed. No problem. Let's troubleshoot again my user. Let me put the username again. User 31 DEFAULT1 A. It's trying to attempt. Let's see. If not, then we have to try to enable and disable the port. Enable. Issued Cisco -lab DC server this one. No, don't connect. I think it's looking for my domain. Let's see what it's going to do now. No, let's verify the connectivity with Cisco ISE. I can ping Cisco ISE. Now let's verify my domain. Yes, it can ping my domain as well. Show authentication session. It's authenticating. Let me enable one more thing. Enter the policy and let me enable the default policy. The default deny access, I will just make it as all user ID store. Let's verify it again. Okay, let's fall back into the authentication state. Disable and enable. Yeah, it is successfully authenticated now. As you can see, the VLAN is assigned. VLAN is VLAN 31 and user is user 31. Okay, so if I show you the show VLAN part, as you can see, the port 3 is in VLAN 31 now. So mean it is successfully authenticated. Sorry, there was something wrong with my policy. Let me show you here again from the scratch. As you can see, the authentication policy, if I refresh here, this policy, which policy got hits? Yes, so the default policy got hits using .1x parameters. Now authorization policy, let's see, this policy is received hit or not. Yes, this policy received one hit, so it's used the authorization VLAN 31. Let's verify the logs. Before it was rejected, now it should be accepted. This one, yeah, as you can see, the authentication policy is default. Authorization policy is rule 1, and it used the profile VLAN 31, the one we created, the custom one. And if we check the details here, As you can see, the authentication is succeeded. Okay guys, that's it for the VLAN 31 authentication, and I hope you enjoyed the troubleshooting part as well. Okay, as you can see, VLAN 31 is received by the host. Okay, let me show you again. Show authentication session. Assigned VLAN is 31 and authentication VLAN is 1, and the user is user 31. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching my videos. Please kindly like and subscribe to my channel. If you have any question, please kindly comment.